as educators, we want to help people. That's in our blood. But sometimes there are people, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you just can't help them. We're going to dive into that. We're going to find out the top 5 people you just can't help unless they're willing to help themselves. Let's go for it.
Welcome to the School Culture and Climate Show. Hosted by Steve, a passionate advocate for positive school culture and climate, together with Megan. Join us as we explore strategies, share success stories, and provide actionable tips to improve the culture and climate in your school.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the School Culture and Climate Show. My name's Stan Tall Steve.
Hey, and I'm Megan.
All right, and we're excited about this episode because it's touching a little bit on the negative, but we're going to show you the positive, a little yin and yang. So, well, no, it's not even yin. Yeah, I guess it is a little yin and yang, a little bit back and forth of what you can see and notice, and then what you can do to kind of address or focus on these things. So, Megan, what is our title or focus today for this episode?
All right, our title for this episode is 5 types of people you just can't help unless they change first.
Unless they change first. All right. So there's some people that you can't help, and I get it. As educators, we want to help everybody, right? We want to help people. We want to be there for people. We want to move them forward. But there are some people that their heels are dug in for whatever reason. They're not moving forward. And no matter what you do, it's the help. They're not going to accept the help unless they change first. They have to do something first. Now, as we go through this, we're going to identify these 5 people. And Megan and I, we talked a little bit earlier, right? And Megan has the classroom look of this, right? In the classroom as a teacher and with students. And I have leadership, the administrative and just school leaders in general. If you could be a classroom leader or whatever like that, as well as in your life, right? Just in your life. So we're going to come with different angles on this, but hopefully I think we'll be able to really give you something that'll work out well. So let's go through these. We're going to go with the first type of one. And Megan, who's the first type of person that you just can't help?
You just can't help the people that are just unaware.
Unaware.
They're unaware. They don't think that they need the help.
Mm-hmm. They don't think they need it. They think what they're doing right now is just fine. They don't see it. They're unaware. They don't know what else. What are you talking about? I'm fine. Everything's okay. Now, of course, the rest of us, we're just like, oh, you're going down in a ball of flames, or you're just not getting the results of the outcomes that you want to see, and they just are not aware of what that is. Now, how do you see this, Megan? Like in the classroom, as a classroom teacher, how are you seeing this?
I kind of think it kind of goes both ways for me. It's the classroom teachers, like the teams that we work with, but also the students, right? And so if they're the unaware student, they're ignoring it. They're thinking that what they're doing is just fine, right? As a student, and they're not really growing in anything because what they're doing is just okay.
It's a good enough mindset.
Yeah, it's getting them by, but they're just really unaware that it's really not working.
Yeah, exactly. And from the leadership standpoint, these are like, let's say you're building level leader and you have some teachers and you're like, hey, we want to move this forward, or we have something new. And they're just like, what? Everything's just going just fine here. I don't see the issue. Whenever you give feedback, it's often dismissed or ignored. They dismiss the feedback that you give them. They ignore the feedback that you give them because they think they're okay. And a lot of times this comes from comfort, right? You're comfortable. It feels fine. Why change? What's that?
I was going to say, if it's the mindset of it, well, it's not broken, so we don't need to fix it.
If it's not broken, why are we even fixing this? I don't see where there's an issue or problem in any way whatsoever. Now, as we go through these, gang, let me pull aside here. I want you guys to think of someone that's in your school, in your district, in your department, in your family, in your group, who fits each of these different descriptions, right? take a second right now. Think of, I know you know someone who's completely unaware of whatever the issue, problem, or concern might even be. So with this kind of person who's completely unaware, the unaware person, in order to get them to grow, in order to get them to shift or to move in any way, to improve, it starts with awareness. You have to get them to be aware that there is even a issue, problem, or concern to begin with. And so the question comes into play, how do you do that? Like from the student standpoint, like let's say you're the teacher, you got a student who's completely unaware or whatever. How would you get them to be aware that more effort is needed, that you need to work on something or you need to do something?
Right. Well, I think it goes beyond grades, right? It goes beyond well, you're unaware, it's not working, you're failing this class. You're unaware, it's not. But I think it comes down to modeling, right? As an educator, here are some steps of things that we could do, kind of showing it as steps. It's not overwhelming. Here's what it could look like. Let me help you with this piece, and kind of bring that awareness out in them that what they're doing, we're thinking about them as a learner and the steps they need to take to understand a concept. And something they're like, well, it's good enough. I kind of did it. Unaware that if they just put a little bit more effort into what they're doing, that it could show some positive outcome.
Yeah. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, some kids just don't care. That's true. Please understand. They just be, I don't even care. So that's another situation. Okay. That's something a little bit different. The other piece of it is, and I do this as it relates to improving culture and climate just overall. I always do the relation to teaching writing, right? When you teach writing to students, one of the best ways of doing that is to give them exemplars of great writing, right? And once they see the exemplars of great writing, then they're aware, oh, this is what great writing looks like. And so therefore they can, now that they're aware what great writing looks like, they can compare it to what it is that they're doing, and it increases their writing. It makes their writing better. I think it's the same thing when we're talking about those people who are unaware. We have to give them exemplars or examples of it going well. And somehow they have to go through a process of seeing where they stand compared to exceptionalism, or sometimes even compliance. Sometimes they're below compliance. This is the basics. Are you even here?
Right.
Oh, awareness begins. Right.
You say it all the time, is that it's not going to happen first time, right? You have to do it again and again and again. And so making them aware, showing them what it could be, showing them different levels of that again and again and again. That's it.
So it's the power of that repetition again, gang. All right. So the first one of the type of people sometimes you just can't help are the people that are the unaware person. All right, Megan, what is the second type of person that we come up against?
All right. So we're talking about the resistant. They know they need help, but they just don't want it.
Yes. So it's a little different than the unaware. The unaware, they're oblivious. These people, they know they're a hot mess, but you're not going,
I don't need your help.
Yeah, I don't need your help. Do it all by myself, right? We joke about that on the side all the time. I do it all by myself. I'm all right.
Do it all by myself.
Right? They see that there's an issue, but they're resistant to change.
Yeah.
You know, they like the status quo. This is the way that it's always been. These are the people this is the way it's always been. It doesn't need to change. They need to step up to me. Those are the ones. You have students and other teachers like this all the time, right?
I know. And, all of us are thinking, oh, we have this person in our head or this student in our head. And we're thinking, and a lot of it comes down to, I wonder, it's back to that comfort, right? We've always done it like this. Yep. Change is hard, right? Whether a positive change or a negative, it's a hard thing to change. And so when you start talking about, you need help to move forward, to grow in this, but they don't want to do it because they don't see maybe the benefit of it. I'm thinking our students that are kind of defiant, they need help, but they don't want it because maybe it's overwhelming to them, right? Maybe it's not something that they can connect with. Maybe it's something they're just not engaged with. It's just too easy. And you just need to help them see that other piece and kind of work through that.
You got to get to that willingness, because sometimes it's also about their pride. Their pride holds them. No. I'm right. I won't let this go. I'm the one that created this back in 1998. And it's been a program that's been rolling all along. Oh, they just hold on. But the way to move them forward is they have to have a willingness. They have to be willing to grow. That little hump that's inside of them that you want to they're holding on, death grip, as they say, white knuckling it. I never had white knuckles, but you know what I'm saying? They're holding on tight. That little bit of willingness is what's going to move those people forward. And they have to be able to be willing to let go of something of the past. And sometimes it's interesting. I found, now this is just me in life, times that I've held on to things too long, it's usually something that comes out of nowhere, that has nothing to do with it directly, that kind of bops me in the head. God says, hey, Steve, look at this over here. I'm in a parking lot somewhere and something happens, or I see something. I'm like, oh, yeah, that kind of connects to that. I need to be willing to adjust or to change or to be different in some way. So that's usually what it is. And even from the leadership side, you have those educators that are just unwilling to do it. You have to get them to the willingness part.
Yeah, and I think with students, there's so much support that has to happen with that, right? Is when they do the willingness to try something, that it's supported through that, that you're kind of helping them. It's okay to not go the best way, because back to that change is hard piece.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. All right. Well, hey, let's get to the next one. The next one, we're going to get a little deep into this one. I know these people. Okay, who's the third one?
Right.
That's hard to change.
These people are the distrusting. They don't want help from you.
It is you.
It's
right?
you.
It is you. I know a lot of times, because the other two, it was a lot of internal things, right? They're unaware. They can't see anything at all. Or, they're defiant. I'm stuck on what it is, and that's what I'm holding on to. This one, when we're talking about someone who's distrusting, it might just be you. It might just be, a teacher who's distrusting of administration. It might just be a student who's distrusting of the teacher or of another student. I mean, yes, it's still them, but it's an outward force that they have an issue and problem with. And the only way to combat that is relationships. I think, you've had that distrustful student before.
Yeah. Well, when the student, in the beginning of the year, you have your students come in, and those disruptive, distrusting students, sometimes it is me. It's me. We just didn't hit it off yet. We're not there yet. But that's when that connection with your teams comes into place, right? Is maybe I just pull in another team member, pull in another educator. It's like, hey, I know you've had a connection with this student in the past. I'm going to need you to help me out with this piece. And that's where those relationships are, until me and that student have enough time together so that they can start trusting and showing that I have that credibility piece. And then we can start working through that. But bringing in other people to help build that relationship and that trust with that student comes first.
It does. And here's the thing, and we touched on this a little bit a while ago. I think we were talking last week, like, relationships is not enough. And I get it. So sometimes you sit there, like you were just saying, you started off the year, you didn't develop a relationship. They still come to class. They still got to learn.
Yeah.
So, a lot of speakers and trainers and things that are out there, they talk about develop these relationships. Sometimes I'm not going to have a great relationship with every single child that comes in my room. Maybe I won't. So you still have to have consistency. You still have to develop credibility. You still have to have follow through. So there is a relationship. It might not be kumbaya hugging and everything, but there has to be something in order to develop some sense of trust that the outcome is going to be positive if they move in a certain direction.
Yeah.
100%.
And, I love that you say that building relationships isn't enough. And starting out the first year, I don't know you yet, and you don't know who I am, but I can still make a connection with you through the learning that we're doing, right? We can still build up that relationship and build up that trust and still get access to all of the curriculum and all the content that those students need. It's not a lost cause yet.
Exactly. Now looking at it from the administrative side, the school leadership side, there's a lot of teachers out there that have been right through the coals, so to speak. They've had bad experiences with leadership. They don't trust. Sometimes, let's be honest, there's some teacher unions out there that, hey, we don't trust them, they don't trust us. There's some administrative unions. They've built up these walls, this distrust. So therefore, you have even a bigger hill to climb. You have a bigger obstacle to get over and to deal with. But again, it also goes back to consistency. It goes back to the power of repetition. You keep doing things that builds your credibility. They will adjust and change and start developing the trust when you have the consistency of credibility that, and I know some of them are like, I don't care. It's all a ruse. They're not gonna, and you may not get everybody. That's come, we said, these are the people that you just can't help unless they choose to help themselves, unless they change first, right? But that's kind of where it is with that. You have to have that consistency. And here's my thing, and you've heard me talk a lot of times before about compliance versus commitment. Hold these people at the compliance level. Compliance is accomplishment. You are accomplishing, but you have to hold them at the compliance level, at least that, until you can get to the commitment level. And that happens through repetition of consistency and credibility. Yeah, that distrustful one, that's definitely, that's one. That is one.
Well, it's hard to hear when it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're like, well, they're distrusting, it's you. It's not anything else. You have to take ownership of that. And how are you going to show growth and trust when you're directly involved?
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even, let's say this, you say it's you, sometimes it's the position that you're in.
Correct.
It might not necessarily, like, let's say you're the new principal. You have the title of principal. The other 17 principals were garbage. You step into that. It doesn't matter who you are. You hit that. You are principal, right? Student, right? Students, let's say he's in 8th grade, right? He's had multiple teachers that he just didn't connect with or she didn't connect with. You are the position of teacher. Ta-da, congratulations, distrust.
Yep. Got to work through that one.
You got to work through it. Got to work through it. All right, what is our next one? All right, we have the unaware, we have the resistant, we have the distrusting. Our next one is what?
The uncommitted. They're not willing to do what's necessary. Uncommitted.
They're uncommitted. These are a little dangerous in the bigger scheme of things, because there's the ones, they agree with what the idea is. They understand what the change needs to be. They understand what the movement needs to be, but they're just not going to change their behavior. They'll sit in a meeting and they'll nod their head. Oh, yeah, okay. And they go right back and they do whatever it is they've always done in the past. They will not commit to making the adjustment or the change for whatever reason. For whatever reason. It's like they say one thing to your face and they turn around and do something different. Again, think of people that you currently have in your sphere, people you work with, kids that you have. I'm sure you can name some people on this one. But you've had that where kids just say one thing, they turn around and just do something totally different.
Oh, yeah. And, a lot of it, we chalk it up to their kids, right? Is they agree with the thing, but they turn around, they're like, I'm going to do it like this. And it usually doesn't go very well for them or really for us as the adults. I guess that one just comes down to holding your students to the expectation, right? Is this is what I expect of you. This is, and this is what's going to happen if we don't follow those expectations. I think from the teacher side and being on a team of teachers, when you talk about that, they know what's necessary to help their students. Here's the new initiative coming out. Here's the curriculum. Here's what we need to teach. But they're like, nope, I'm going to do it like this. And they agree with the idea sitting together. Then they go off, they close their door. I'm going to do it my own way. But then what sometimes will happen with that is that they come back and they're like, well, that didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah. And you're like, but did you try it? And so
you're not committed to the change. Yes,
No.
and that the beginning of that change is going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, but they're not going to commit. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's good," but they're not committed to it. You're right. You're absolutely right on that. And and when we talk about culture and climate, right, especially with culture, I always say that culture and climate revolves around what you respect and value, collectively respect and value. So if you go through the process, let's say in your school or your building, your district, your department, and you've identified what you respect and value as a group, but not everybody's committed to what you respect and value, right? We're not, well, then it's going to fall apart. You're going to have one of those two people that are just are operating on their own level of own set of values, which they could be good, but if we collectively say we value these things and you're operating over here with your own set of values that don't connect with ours, there's a disconnect now. There's a disconnect, and the culture, which is a repetition of things, is going to be disjointed. And the culture will be that it is just that will create that culture of it not being together. And so therefore some problems can come with that. The way to battle this, well, I guess the best way to say is to battle it or to make it different. It requires action. They have to do it. Now, from the leadership standpoint, just like what you said with your students, you have to do this. All right? You be an adult. Tell them this is the requirement. You're going to do it. Leaders, be the leader and say this is what the expectation is and hold them to that. They have to take action. Once they are, for lack of a better words, forced to take action again and again and again and again on whatever that is, that should change the mindset to being, all right, this is what we're doing. It's working. I'm now can be committed to this, as opposed to the uncommitted and being allowed not to take the action. All right. Accountability is a big piece of all these things. You have to make sure that accountability to what the expectations are, they are firm.
And as you're talking, I'm envisioning those kids in our heads that are like, well, I agree with this idea, but I'm going to be stubborn and I'm not going to change my behavior. But then they take action, even if it's a small little step. And they're like,
little step.
That wasn't that bad. And then
Yep.
how much do you recognize that they took action, and then you just a little bit more, and then they realize, oh, okay, this really isn't that bad of an idea. It really did work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing with adults. Same thing with adults. Same thing. All right. Woo, here we go. So we're wrapping this up. The last one of these is what?
We're talking about the people that are the wait and see. They're waiting for a perfect condition before acting on it. A wait and see.
Yes, they just sit back and wait. I'm going to start this off with the leadership because I see the wait and see people in administration. A lot of times in administration, before you can implement something, do something, adjust the discipline, change let's just wait and see. Let's see how this goes. Well, maybe next year, or not this semester. Or we could. They're sitting back, preventing growth of their school, their department, their section, because you're sitting in the wait and sees, right? The only way to move forward for the wait and see is, and you say this a lot, Megan, within what it is that you speak on, is you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to start before it gets comfortable. That's what it's about. You gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. And you've really hit it with that as the wait and see. I see that a lot, even as a teacher. I'm like, we're not going to start this yet. Why aren't we going to, we are given this thing but the other people are trying it. Yeah. Okay. From a classroom perspective, it's more of when it comes down to when students are trying to learn something new, when we've created this kind of the student-led experience where they have to kind of take more ownership in their learning. And those kids, the wait and seers, are the ones kind of on the sideline, not really wanting to participate because they want to wait and see how it goes. They don't want to put themselves into creating something or trying something new. They just are wait and see. They're just watching.
They're just watching. They're going to wait and see what happens. Once everybody else is ready, then I'll go in there. But we got, again, it goes back to what I've said before with all of these. It's a level of accountability. You're going to have to push a little bit. I know you're uncomfortable, but let's go anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move anyway. Let's make some movement. Let's make some direction. Let's make something happen. Now, please keep in mind how overwhelmed people are, how much is on their plate. You have all of those things. Yes, keep that all in mind. But at a certain point, we got to keep growing. We got to keep moving. And unless you keep sitting back on the wait and sees, you're not going to grow. You're not going to move. You're not going to make it better in any way. So that's what we have. That's what they are. All right. So we have our 5. These are the top 5 people. Sometimes you can't help them and you just don't know what to do. And each one of them has a certain title. And once you understand these type of people, then you can figure out how to. The unaware person, the person who's unaware, growth starts with them with just beginning to be aware. They have to be able to see it first. The resistant person, growth requires a willingness. They have to have that willingness to begin. Once you get that, then they're going to grow. The distrusting person, all right? That's all about developing trust and credibility. You got to get that credibility. You want a relationship, but sometimes relationship isn't enough. Show credibility, the consistency of it. The next one is the uncommitted. The people that are uncommitted, they have to take action. Once they take action, then they'll realize, okay, I can get committed to this. And then the final one is the wait and see. Oh, let's see what it is. Maybe eventually. They got to do it when they're uncomfortable. They have to do it when they're uncomfortable. There you go. Hey, in the show notes, I am going to have a document that kind of outlines each one of these. So please go check out the show notes. But we do have a few questions about this that you can just ponder over, right? These little questions that I think can help you guys when you're doing this. What are some of those questions, Megan? Do you know those questions?
Yeah, so I want you guys to think about which of these 4 types of people do you encounter most often in your school or in your classroom?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another one is, what patterns do you notice about when they show up? Like when these type of people show up and they start showcasing who they are, do you notice any patterns that happens when this happens so that you can notice it a little sooner than later?
The last question we have for you is, at what point does your leadership shift from supporting someone to holding someone accountable?
Yes, because we talked about that. You want to support them, but then at a certain point, you're like, you know what? This is the expectation. And then that's where the push happens. You got to find out where that is. So there you go. That's our top 5 people you can't help unless they're willing to help themselves. But you got to identify them and move them through.
And if you know someone that could also hear this message, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to this and send this video to them.
Send it to them. Yes. And we'd love to hear your comments. Put it in the comments. Tell me, what do you do when you're noticing these things? Those questions that we posed to you, put those answers into the comments. We want to hear some of those things. All right. So there we go. Hey, thank you so much, Meg. I think this was a good one. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was great, Steve. Thank you. It was good to have the leadership perspective and the classroom teacher's perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, gang. Hey, we have some fun things coming. When this is coming out, we're wrapping up the back end of spring break. We're going into the back end of that, into May, into June. And then the summer. We have a lot of speaking engagements that are coming up in the summer, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But also keep in mind, we also have Within Our Ranks coming up in June, right?
Yes. Within Our Ranks is training for educators who are thinking about speaking professionally, consulting, training, keynoting. If that's something that you're thinking about doing, you're just not sure how to start, Within Our Ranks is a place to go. So make sure you go to withinourranks.com and check us out.
There you go. Perfect. All right, Meg. Until next time, you be good, and I'll talk to you later.
Bye, Steve.
Bye. Hi. My name's Steve Bowler, also known as Stand Tall Steve. I'm a former teacher, principal, and superintendent of schools. And one of the things that I was most proud of and had the most success with was classroom management, culture, climate, leadership development, and idea development. And how the culture and climate within a school, within a classroom, can make everything happen or not make everything happen. We've understood that culture and climate is more than a program. It's a philosophy, it's an understanding. So during our time, during this series, we're gonna dive into culture climate, leadership development, and idea development. What ideas are out there that you can implement easily and quickly to maximize your culture and climate and get the results that you want to see?